Alright, I'm Korea Dunga, you Bachada Jeba Bang, that's on you go on Toyalia, and they can Jig Nambo and to be Tablam Carrier, Sene, that Janju Sim, the like, Janju Sim, Simbi Tone, and the passion to gain Yamden Jebala dinner, San Yoko Toturi, the Enzadang nearly young to get Tapachim big lam Yamlin J. Gulekewala, and Janju Guleki who was. Design the names other Janjusim Guleki. It's not that Janjusim Sadilla, and Jigga Ganis Yoris and that Bay Janjusim de, and the J. Payende, Bay Masashim to Chawa. That Jigga Divative Tochimbo Sayo Pane, Janjusim Gombalatine, and the Divat Tatu Gore, and Janjusim Gombalatine, so Labosha Satu Gore, saying that Janjusim Payan she pick up it kissing so on those Chinishurva.
Good evening. So here we've been looking at at a method to gain freedom from all the sufferings of samsara, how to abandon the causes that lead to suffering as well as their imprints. And the method that is being presented is to cultivate bodhicitta within oneself and thereafter train in the 6 perfections. Doing so, Buddhahood will be attained. So therefore we need to generate bodhicitta and to inspire us to develop the strength of mind, the determination to actually generate bodhicitta. The benefits are being presented in this first chapter. And the benefits are many and varied, but amongst them are included that the mind of bodhicitta accumulates vast stores of merit, waves of merit, as well as purifying vast amounts of non-virtue. So reflecting on the benefits of bodhicitta repeatedly leads to a determination. This must be the life that I generate bodhicitta.
Janjusim de la ya, Nancy Yawa Chevaina, the Mumbasim get and Jubasim Yores. Tis not a Mumbasim said the Gavana Payan bottom of Yoride and delay and Jubasim gets the Gule Gavana, then and Payan delay and Lapchawa. Yore should Nubachawa Yores as the Goshiro.
In the last couple of weeks, we looked at that if you divide bodhicitta by way of its entity, there are 2. Aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. The benefits, as we've looked at, of the benefits that result from generating uncontrived bodhicitta, which would usually first be that of aspiring bodhicitta, are incredible. But when then engaging bodhicitta is generated, that surpasses even the benefits that accrue to someone who has generated aspiring bodhicitta.
Alright, then is a down to get Janjusim Payan Shi and do Gabla, then Jizanda Jubosim Jes, do Karasene, and Anjike, Semja Tamjiki, Danda, San Yokoban, Tobi Chedo. Jeba Paru the Chimbajula, Labgi, Sepiki, Denegi, and the Choga, Lami Dunia, and Choga, those stranger design, Jeba Paru, Janjusim, Jeba Paru, the Janjusim, Jeba Paru, Labgins, Makalim, Damjadi, Danganzugi, Nete Jubas, Jubi Domba, Saji. Denegi, Damjadi, just soon Damja killing Chesavi, that Janjusim Della, and the Nek Damja Yudi can get Janjusim Della, and the Jubasim Geri, Saji, and the Jubasim Ge. And Tenegi Kasore, Tenu Judum de Lene, that Juba Yamini Jawan, so Jishim, Nerabki, Janjusim de la, the Jubasim be like the Essence on those next in the Shurua.
Having reflected well on the benefits of bodhicitta, one will strive to and eventually cultivate bodhicitta. And we looked at the difference between the 2 types of bodhicitta, and what marks engaging bodhicitta, what marks it out from aspiring bodhicitta, is where one receives the vows of a bodhisattva, or to express that differently, where in a ritual one makes the promise to train in the 6 perfections in order to become a Buddha, to lead all sentient beings without exception to attain their own freedom from suffering. So where one makes that promise in a ritual, thereby receiving the bodhisattva vows, thereafter every activity where one is explicitly engaged in the six perfections, that mind conjoined with the particular perfection will be the mind of engaging bodhicitta.
ni kubai na da and jige ba me tene ki zemo ke ba me be ke zemo da tene ki ne kabri na da do sine an ji sunam pe ma se ge chim ba to me ba sa go res mu di jine sa go res de ke singa zu de ko shiro da.
We concluded last week at the 19th verse where it was stated that from the moment where engaging bodhicitta is generated, whatever the bodhisattva does, even if asleep or inattentive, the merit that is accumulated is of great force, innumerable and uninterrupted. This was the final verse we looked at last week.
that the negi gule semge gule yedingen gansa delaya ni khuene gola kewasagi maribesene kewasagi ore shere kewasagi ore ba me bige da zemoda de ne khosya kewasagi ore na jubos mi jawana dilesunum chewasagi ore ni khuene gada ba me ge jobi ne khosya sunum chewasagi ore shere wada de sunum de bene ni khuene khosya sunum gane sagi ore sashita samna nguru wada 가서네 신뢰 팬비기 곰자고 말에 아니 신뢰 팬비기 내가 오소네 판도 지겨 말와 지나다 쇠바콤야다 준주 좀 야라 소바다 되니게 인진비 냠네 되는 오소네 지겨 말 아니 편연 그는 사이레세데 지게 바삼 타와이나 당 오소 지겨 말데 니 쿠베 내가 무슨 가르선 편연 가르사고서는 장주sem디 빈 장주sem바디게 나 니모쿠베 내가네 고 장주sem도 곰체네 니쿠고로와 제가 장주셈 니모고 나 장주셈 곰체 니쿠고로와 제가 디 장주셈 곰체 니쿠완자 장주셈디 니쿠에 내가서야 무수 문교를 매나야 아니 무수 예대 가서 예대 바래 제가 장주셈 예 바래 장주셈디 주베 돈바소 돈바디 니쿠에 내가서 예 바인자 고 개화 무티도 예대가 채우러 제가 장주셈 고랑 개화를 와 제가 주베 돈베 주돔 고랑 개화를 와 제가 dingi koroni yede banza ani ni khuene asona ko kewasa gor kewa yungore seachina ani ji bamege zemo zebe ne gasine ko janju sem ko di ne gaso janju sem mundu gyurje shala pembe jawa jigo martena bayan ro jigo de ina dinala kun samnala ko janju sem yede bare janju sem domba yede bare 제가 dingi kewa enza ko di ne gaso kewa yede bare 제가 janju sem ba de bame jubi 데 제모다 되니게 내가 수이네 그런 줄에 전주심의 돈바데 주dom데 요요 봐자 아니 개와 요요 봐레스 아니 니 구에 내가 수야 전주심 요래 전주심의 돈바데 요래 니네 데스 요 봐자 디그 개와 요요 봐레스 어두시네 고 자원고수 무수의 문두기 자와 맞에 봐나 그런 줄 요요 봐자 개와 요래스 자 전주심 니 구에 내가 수 마고니라 장주심 공부하듯 디노 디기 슉 뛰어봐. 배는 하나 저게 장주심 귤에 맞게 봐나 니 마고 니 쿠베 내가서 니 쿠로 지도 갑리야 삼루야 안에 저게 신뢰 팬베 삼다야다 권조라 대바제야다 되니게도 신의 삼다네 되네 삼다지 니 쿠송외나 이메세부터 개화를 해서 올때 니디야 니 셰바는 개화 차기 되라래. 그래서는 그 군웅기 삼로디 되니게 개회 삼다데 디 슈기 근데 니 남이나 개화차고레스 아야지 니 쿠로지도 갑랑 한조에 신뢰 뇌베 삼바다 체외 삼바데 니게 삼로 따지 되네 삼로 따신 병아리 니 쿠송에는 니 쿠니 니메세 para들 니디에 기바레스 올라다
Whilst Shantideva says in the 19th verse explicitly that even whilst asleep or inattentive, the bodhisattva who has taken the bodhisattva vows and that haven't degenerated, therefore has engaging bodhicitta on their continuum, they accumulate merit whilst asleep. This doesn't mean that a bodhisattva who has not yet taken the vows and therefore their bodhicitta is that of aspiring bodhicitta, does not accumulate merit whilst asleep or inattentive. So a bodhisattva, whether their bodhicitta is that of aspiring or engaging, will accumulate merit when asleep or inattentive. So that's But how they vary and why the engaging bodhicitta is explicitly mentioned is because engaging bodhicitta leads to the accruing of so much more merit than aspiring bodhicitta. Therefore, the benefit of engaging bodhicitta is explicitly mentioned. But we shouldn't infer from that a bodhisattva who has aspiring bodhicitta would not accumulate merit whilst asleep or inattentive. They certainly would, just less than a bodhisattva who has generated engaging bodhicitta. Hearing that then, one may well think, that's one may well have last week. So when a bodhisattva is not either directly engaging in virtuous deeds such as interacting with others or meditating or studying to and in that way indirectly benefiting others, when a bodhisattva is not doing deeds of that type, such as meditation or activity, but is asleep or inattentive, how can merit be accumulated? Well, because bodhicitta itself is a virtuous mind, even whilst it's not manifest, this virtuous mind still exists on the continuum of the bodhisattva, and therefore merit is accumulated. So bear in mind that this is a mind that the bodhisattva is greatly familiar with, having cultivated it over an extensive period, and that it guides them throughout their activities. So this is a mind they are deeply, deeply familiar with. So even whilst asleep or inattentive, that mind still influences them, although it's very much in the background. How we can perhaps understand that is, or just before I go on, so just to repeat, because the mind of bodhicitta exists within the continuum of a bodhisattva, even when the bodhisattva is asleep or inattentive, that virtuous mind accrues virtue. So how we can relate to this from our own lived experience is, you'll know from the Dharma teachings, you are encouraged at night to generate virtuous minds, perhaps do purification or intentionally generate a virtuous mind, so that when you sleep, you go to sleep with your mind in the side of virtue. Maybe generate a refuge or love, whatever it may have been. And you would have heard this is because when you go to sleep with a virtuous mind, that virtuous mind will influence your sleep, your dreams and so forth, and therefore the minds that arise whilst asleep will be influenced by the virtue, and therefore virtue will be accumulated. So this is the same for a bodhisattva, except with a mind such as bodhicitta, which they are so habituated to, and is an incredibly powerful mind itself, that when they are, that mind still influences them, even when asleep or inattentive. So this is good for us to bear in mind, the importance to generate a virtuous mind when one goes to sleep. Especially if we compare it to those times when one has gone to sleep with perhaps an angry mind, then that will have been influencing one during the sleep period, and non-virtue would have been accumulated. So now, whilst we are still in the stages of our training of cultivating the aspiration to become a bodhisattva, we certainly at night, when we go to sleep, should take some time and generate a virtuous mind, and have that influence us while we sleep.
Chisnada Sanji Garasumosne, Gawa, Digba, Lumaden says Sum Gore. Chidang Antuki, Samlunane, Samlo Denish Corner di Gavare, Samlo Denish Corner di Migavare, Penia, Chishalia, Conroda, Shalia, Chevi, Sambo Kovana, di Samlo di Migavares. Shalia Pamba and Zewa and Jambi Samlo, and Jig, never Jimmy Sembiki, the nigger Samlo Kovana, Gavares. dene gaya member nganjugi milia kishe gyoba da anji milia chikan numgune chimil legale gyoba dene samlo shorwa di lungma deres urte gyaya mare migaya mares chida lungma deres chida dene yenzada chida sam di sanjigi gyawa migawa lungma de senje du sum warida.
Both in what's been said tonight and just about in every class, there's a lot of talk about virtue and non-virtue. So what do these terms mean? What is meant by virtue and non-virtue? Well, in brief, we come to know about them because of independence on Buddha clearly identifying these certain minds are virtuous, those certain minds are non-virtuous, and then there's a third category of neutral. So virtuous, non-virtuous, and neutral. So Buddha presented those illustrations of those minds which are virtuous, minds such as love and compassion, the wish to be of benefit, and so forth. Minds which are non-virtuous, anger, attachment, pride, and so forth. And minds which are neutral, perhaps those that are present whilst we're just going about our activities around the house or at work, just when we minds that aren't either in the direction of virtue or non-virtue. So there are these three: virtue, non-virtue, and neutral, and they were identified by the Buddha as to which minds fit into which category.
Sanji di keware sumba chila di devu de dewaj mahomba de koron devu dewaj kigu yobana yungu yobana ko keware hele kewa dele kewa la gres sanji gi ko kemi go lungma de res ka chi sumba chila ga shik chila ane chi dele tene di mahomba de devu kanga dunga yungu yobana dele miga la gres dunga devu dunga jo 지난 데네 사당한 주게 현ля 제와다 잠베게 삼로디 디가레스네 개화래라도 거기 제부들라 대화시운 거래스 마음반은 대화시운 거 지금 그 개화래 대산지기 개화래에서 순요래 아니 디게 제부다 대기 용 대화시운 거래 진짜 그내 거서 개화래스 제가 콘로지 데네 미가와래라지 가레스 그 제부들라 마음반은 둥하시운 거래 진짜 그 미가와레스 지도에다 간절에 개와다 미가와세dim 그런 게 제부 둥아 쉬운 거에는 콜레 텔레테네 둥아 쉬운 거는 제부디 둥아 쉬운 거는 그 미가와레스 그 제부들의 대화 쉬운 거에는 아니 개와레스 그런 게 예와 체단데 두체 그 제부들라 마음에 제부들의 대화야 연구 매봐 안지 제부 연구 봐라 제부 대화야 말에 둥아에 많이 봐 땅님을 되니 게 같이 대화지 대화다 동화 가야 매바지 두고요베나 루마데 했어요. 배나가 저기 사벤지 마타 샤베네디 뉴구기로 뉴구디 개와레 미가원 그 대화레 베 동화레는 가야 말와. 제산 사벤디 루마데요. 그런 게 제부디 메네기에도 계기 제부 동화야 말에 대화야 말에 저 루마데레. 진짜 그 사벤디 루마데레스. 진짜 루마데레라고. 진짜 다 개와다 미가 루마데 세데 숨기 예와 체다데 가르치고서 산지기 개와다 미가 루마데지 데니지 숨여봐 찍라 아니 디기 제부 동아지 연구여봐나 안디 미개와래제 제부 대기 마음반데 제부 디기 대화지 연구여나 디 아니 개와래제 다디 제부 대화도 동아 가야 멤버 제부 연구여봐나 기구여봐나 디 루마데 라이래제 데 개와 예와 체다도 두스 숨고래.
Again, Buddha Shakyamuni, he identified for us which minds are virtuous and which are non-virtuous and which would be neutral. Moreover, he didn't just give lists, but he also presented that the result of virtue is happiness, and the result of non-virtue in the future will be suffering. So therefore, when we cultivate minds such as love and compassion, these are virtuous because the result that will follow in the future will be happiness. And similarly, minds such as anger, these the cultivation of, or the strength of minds the cultivation of minds of anger, these will lead to results of suffering. Therefore, anger is non-virtuous. And then that which leads to a result that is neither happiness nor suffering, then that cause would have been neither virtuous nor non-virtuous, but would have been neutral. So, for example, if one plants a seed, that sprout that comes from the seed, that's not virtuous nor non-virtuous, so that would be said to be a neutral result.
Delia nga dilia kong Geshe kong geware migaware ndi ga marwa Geshe di luma de chagro na myo Geshe di luma de chagore ina da Geshe nga dilia gewa cheli ge miwa cheli ge delare ta di ganis li ge delana kunlong le ya shen li pembe ge ta de ni ge pembe samme kunde langje chik chube nga di kunlong de la gyu de la ane kaso pembe samme kunde lang denegi kunye lang kunlo de denegi ma Geshe shebe negabla pembe sembi kun chi samlo yode ba che denegi Geshe shebe negab ge nga di jadi gewari hela wore.
The actions of our physical behavior, our verbal behavior, or our mental behavior can be virtuous or non-virtuous. It can be virtuous or non-virtuous. So our behavior, physical behavior can be virtuous or non-virtuous. Our speech can be virtuous or non-virtuous, as too can our minds. So let's take an illustration of non-virtuous speech. The component of speech itself, this is neutral. But whether it is virtuous or non-virtuous isn't dependent on the speech or the sound, but the motivating intent behind the speech. So if the motivation is of the wish to be of benefit, that speech will be virtuous.
Digi kunlong digi denishin pa anji pa ki she jorwada jig milki she de chikti ngadi da denigi shebe negabla ya nebi sambi kunlong she ba kunlong de le yu kunlong na du kunlong ni yongre yu kunlong chi de du kunlong yu kunlong la ngadi ma shebe negabla ni deni she yin sambi kunlong jorwa jiza kontre da ma ke yu kunang ge khol lukjai la ge sambi samlo de kunlong yu kunlong re deni shebe negabla ya kunlo di yode na du kunlo se orde na di ki shebe ne gabla kolya magawi samlo jinebe samlo yode ba kunlo joben di du kunlo jesa nga di na nyom du yode gen kunlo jesa denegi shebe ne gabti nga di jadeda miga ware le nga ge miga ware es jesa dele di ne jebu dunga chungore es ya.
And similarly, the speech or the sound itself is something neutral, but if the motivating intent is one of disliking the person that one is engaging with or wanting harm to come to them, this is of course a non-virtuous intent, a non-virtuous motivation. Therefore, the speech will be non-virtuous because the result that follows will be suffering. The future result will be one of suffering. Looking at motivation or intent in a little more detail, there are two types. There's a causal motivation and a motivation of time, probably something like that. So causal motivation and motivation at the time. The causal motivation is the motivation or the intent that is prior to the speech, and then the motivation at the time is the intent or the motivation whilst one is speaking. So there are these two aspects to motivation: the causal, prior to the activity, and that of during the time, which is whilst one is engaging in the activity. So again, here in this case, if one is engaging in speech with someone, and that speech is coming from an intent of dislike or afflicted in some way, that will be non-virtuous, because the result of that speech will be suffering.
Andi na je da nga ju lu gi gewa da mi gewa sa da nga ge gewa da mi gewa sa le kunlong la ra li go kunlong ge je dang kunlong gewa yi gi gewa sa mi gewa sa da samlo kho wa zam ji da ko gewa da mi gewa cha sa de je xian la ne be sam ba di kho wa zam ji mi gewa de gewa na xian le pen be sam ba de gewa zam ko gewa cha de gewa cha da lu gi gewa da mi gewa sa de Lugi Juba Jajuti, Lugi Java Chede, Chichedi, Chidane, Manzo Lagua, you had the Chedi, Shazan, Kokewa, the Mua Kaya Marwadu Cheben. Isn't that Nang Samlu Kune Lanche, Kiwi Samlo Kune Lang, Lugi Java Cheba, Jajuti, Nekas to Kewa, Penanajuki, the Michidan do Sude, Gawasa Skaya Marwada, Samlo Kaya Mevache. Lagwa de de gewa sa di sa kai marwa chi zang han ju ya kon jo le de ba che an ji ba de ba che ju che che an de le ji du chen lagwa du tamo cha du chi de ka bla ne di lagwa ge cha gi de ya ge su di na de da cha yu su di su ju yo di gewa re so re di gewa re so de ne kha ne ma de ya di chi de ya gewa re le wo da di na shin da di kun long le ra le kun long gewa kun ne la wa za 다 군노 미게와 지게 군내라 샬레 뇌베 삼바다 세베 삼베 지다 미질레 두스체네 진때고 디바다 가이 말어 지단 말어 지금 뇌베 삼고 콩으로는 아직 두샤 레지던스가 제는 디기 데니게 라베 구교 야레 수데 미게와 레시오레
Our physical verbal behavior, whether it is virtuous or not, doesn't depend so much on the physical or verbal activity, but on the motivating intent. So, for example, if while speaking one just moves one's hands around, this is neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. Neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. But if one does so with a particular intent, then it could be virtuous or non-virtuous. So, for example, if one joins one's hands together like this in prayer, with a mind of faith, then this will be an accumulation of virtue. But if one's just hands happen to come together like that, that's not necessarily virtuous, because it depends on the intent. Likewise, if one points towards someone, that's neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. But if one does so from with an afflicted motivation, such as anger or derision towards someone, then when one wags that finger, this will be non-virtuous because of the motivating intent. So what we see with these illustrations is mere sound or physical movement isn't necessarily virtuous, non-virtuous. It largely depends on the motivating intent. Therefore, the need to take care of the mind.
룽아게 제주 텔라 때네 대화 용어셔야 돼. 라라 대화 용어다 샬라 대화 용어 이거 용어로 와. 그러면 아주 룽아게 잠지게 토네 나게 줘봐. 야고 좀 만에 샬라 대화 지를 라라 대화 되고. 이나 다디디 개화 미게 와시기 내가 제고 쪼디 마음바나 다등아도 개왕아시 집에나 개와 치마들이야. 다디디 아주게 디게 제고 안데 동아 중국에나 안디 다디 제게 베나 삼로나 룽아게 줘베나 가르디 미카바레 사지 제자 다된 아주 룽아 줘바 텔라테나 마오바디 개와 치마 소소라라야 대화지 연구요베나 디 아니 개바레 사지 네 도시네 That's all that Gawatan, Migawatan, Lumating, Yawaru, Dune Chigore.
So you've heard that something is virtuous because the intent will lead the activity with body, speech, or mind to the attainment or the result of happiness in the future. And if the intent is non-virtuous, or it's afflicted, brings harm, then it will lead to the result of suffering in the future. So one further thing to say here then is that in the immediate impact, the immediate effect of physical behavior and speech, it has an immediate impact on oneself and others. But this doesn't necessarily indicate whether virtue or non-virtue was accumulated. Because in the context of whether one's speech or one's behavior is virtuous or non-virtuous is dependent largely on the ripening of those imprints in future lives, not what is seen immediately before one. So therefore, to determine whether, for example, speech is virtuous or not virtuous, one would look at the intent and would know what, in dependence on the intent, what the result would be in experience in future lives of happiness or suffering, not the result that one experiences immediately.
Gawa Yontan can swim, Diva Yontan can swim with a sadi. Cizadana Jugi Pene Jugi Gawa Chima, Jinyawa Jagi, Le Samasa said, Benin has a Simjin so Rochevina, Dambo, Benebuchi, Petty Corner, Shoe Saj Budilla, that Diva Chichun said, you could know the succession of Chagore, Kuno de Lepe, Chicken, that's younger than Narjuji, the Nigga, some of the Bay Corner, she would launch in the Buddhila, Swegi, Swechin, Corner Langes, Kunodia, Shukchimbose, the Nipa Subi, Negasoya, and Chipet Colia Bear, Chiki, Gavi Chicaro, the Nisu, and the deeper chairs I get eleger. That Buji is a Dambo, the search captain, Corla, Chixo was a Kuno, Kuno Sue, Kuno Shukchimaki. The nigger Sue, Gensam Lady, Samba Juso, and cook. I didn't think Marson Bege, or some did cognize the son of Dick Marson, some of use one, the you could not delay Suegi, Samba Shu Chimoyor Dana, Subin, Dini, never delay the Guno Juanza, Diggy, Dick Guno, Dubach, some of Chimbuji and the Diggy, Jebudi, because Nyawajeda, the Niki Les Atuma Regire. The names of Gunon could Gugulo, Gugulo, Niga Sangore. Just not Delia, and the Yanjik Dele Tartu Truba said, the Dinezia Yore, Tartu, that means soon a Tixon and Big, this one. The survey in that Sursons, Jian Dambo, Miji, Buji Corla, Beshu Corla, this Surson, Surson and Lamsa, Tangi Surson, Jison, Massambache, some Mako in Yab, or Tangi Surson, Bessason, Norson, and Biggie, that decrees are Ninja, and Hongi, Corla, Surson, Ninja, and Lamsan Colia, Sue Chani Lamsang, Sue, Jison, Massambache, Ninja, and Big, some lodge course of an Digi, Nyawaki, Guchagoma, Deeper Sava, they did Gudi, Nubachua, just a Nyawaki, Guchagoma, just a Tarduk Della, go Tartu Majubaje, Tartu Della, Jovaje, Niji Sonova, just a Denigi, Yungurese, just a Dine Zanga to Gabriela, Corona Emilia. Jiki Gyunjere, Jinga to Chingamba Lamsa, Tangi didn't call it Gyunji Tucson, Singamba Love Tucson, and big Juice on Massambache, Gisi, the Nitin Odangi shared the team house on Ben Nodru, the Ninja, and big some Tashavana, and Chico Diva Chuma, Sagme said that. Tardu said that. So the Jixon and be tired, the Tartuba, Sene, Dambo, Subi, Gunwanke, Subi, Chawache, then Suyon, that Timas or somebody, Medieval, that was Jix Time, Tardu Duyum. That Susan, Dangy Susan, Jixon, somebody, Lud got Giorvada, then he got Tardu Tubales, and then Divachimbus, Divache, as well.
then it's important to have a good understanding of what is meant by virtue and non-virtue, because in all the teachings one is encouraged to accumulate virtue and purify non-virtue. So it's important that one actually understands what is meant by these terms, so as to have a better understanding of what one is supposed to be doing and not doing. So let's therefore look a little further at this. So if you think, have I accumulated non-virtue of the strength that could lead to rebirth in the hells? Then one would perhaps, with such a thought, recall some non-virtue that one has done. So let's say you have, with intention, perhaps killed an insect. So killing is, of course, a grave misdeed. Whether it has the strength to lead to rebirth in the hells or not depends on a number of factors. Amongst them, a key factor is the intention. So if one kills with anger, then the karmic imprint that one has accumulated, the negative imprint, is much, much stronger. So for example, if an insect, maybe a mosquito, is biting you and anger arises, you kill it and it's dead, and good, it's dead. You've done the whole deed and now it's finished, and then you've completed the deed, but in particular the motivating intent was one of strength. Then this is going to lead to a much heavier ripening result than if, for example, the mosquito bites you, anger arises, maybe your hand lifts up, but you see the animal, and because of your training you recognize this is just another sentient being that's hungry, nothing more. Immediately your mind calms. And perhaps you even practice generosity and just relax. There's no malaria in this area, you can have a drink. Now you did accumulate negativity because anger arose, the wish to kill was there. That's all. No action of killing happened. So there was negativity from a mental activity, but not from a physical activity. So the physical activity actually did not happen. Moreover, by compassion or care arising within you for the insect, vast merit was accumulated, probably far more merit than that non-virtue. So there we can see two responses to the mosquito, which are very different. The one where one killed with anger, this leads to a far more negative imprint, and therefore a far greater suffering result than when anger arose and the intent to kill, but that's all, just a mental activity, but nothing further done, and immediately an antidote was applied. And applied, not in this instance, not necessarily intentionally applied, but one calmed through thinking that this was a mother sentient being. So what we're seeing in the second illustration, where there was, in these illustrations, is there is a difference in motivation. Sometimes you generate the motivation of a causal motivation, so prior to an activity. At other times, the motivation arises solely during the activity, so the motivation of time. Also, there's the question as to whether the action was done completely or not. So this also depends, has an impact on whether the ripening result will be powerful or weak. And even where an activity, a complete negative action has been done, the insect's killed, the action is complete. The intent arose, the action was taken, and the animal was killed. It's complete. But if having done so, regret arises, then one thinks, oh no, what have I done? And sincere regret arises. Immediately, that negativity will be counteracted. Or if one doesn't do so, generate regret immediately, perhaps you've had a less than pleasant interaction with someone in the day, and then later in the evening you think back and say, oh, I really wasn't very skillful. I spoke in a way that was unkind, and even if their behavior was unacceptable, The way I spoke was unskillful, and I caused harm. Here regret is arising. Perhaps even compassion for the person that you had that altercation with. Perhaps even compassion for them will arise. So earlier, one engaged in a complete non-virtuous action, and powerful non-virtue was accumulated. However, a little later, when one had calmed down, one was able to recall, regret, and apply an antidote. And that illustration, the antidote, would have been perhaps compassion for that person. So in this case, again, whilst a complete non-virtuous action was accumulated, thereafter, maybe a few hours later, an antidote was applied and it weakened. So in this way, when we ask ourselves the question, have I accumulated the non-virtue of the strength to lead to the lower realms? We see that there are many aspects to take into account. And we, especially with this training, with this knowledge, we do have the capacity to weaken the non-virtue that we have accumulated. Let's continue with the text. We've been looking at a number of benefits to bodhicitta, and now the text turns to a new part where it presents reasons for these benefits.
Dini teba dangje par lasang kini shuba le menme semjen dunyi chir dijin sheba ni songs.
The 20th verse. The reason proof for this was stated in the sutra requested by Subahu for the sake of those inclined towards the Theravada by the Tathagata himself.
Dini teba dangje par sede jizan dini le janshu sem jugbe janshu sem na dini ki janshu sem ye panyuen sheba di panyuen di dini ki sheba na ye panyuen di yeba de teba de so teba je yeba de di yebe ki gyumsen yore so gyumsen and longda riba yore lung yore riba yore so jizan janshu sem ki dini ki panyuen yeba songba na panyuen yeba di yebe ki teba yeba de teba so yeba digi yebi gyum dang jeba so yebi gyumsen lungda riba yore se dini teba dang jeba se dona dis gore.
So maybe we just change the beginning of the first line. Instead of reason proof, we could say here rationale. The rationale for this was stated in the sutra requested by Subaru, because the rationale for there being these benefits to bodhicitta is twofold. So the rationale is both that of sutra quotations as well as logical reasons.
Lasang sia digi ya temba chimde le shubigi chimden digi tele ya lasang le shun sung she bi do chi yores di do na le sung yores lasang gnu shubales.
The feasibility then is twofold, one being scriptural citation and the other being logical reasons. So the sutra citation is mentioned in the second line, the sutra requested by Subahu.
Di membige da on joge janju sin panyön dinye le ndo anzi ndo na le song yore se ji o janju sin bige janju sin ye panyön ndo na la ba pe ani ji ni ya ka sin ji sa sum do se na ja song yore se de ne do ya yor wa da.
The same sutra was referenced a few verses before, where it was mentioned in the commentary that in the sutra, 230 benefits of bodhicitta were explicitly mentioned.
Nada lasangi shubige donan ba that jike janju sim gomba dan plawar do jubu judom le janju sim gomba na den payön ba to me ba yore chide that did song yore se donan ba de song yore se song je donan de song ba yin song yo ba yin za da do yu chupchel chagor wa de 라상시베 되기 편유비 금제가서 도나를 송요레스 도가와 손에서 라상시베 도나를 송요레스 니나 도나네 가서 송요레스네 제산 전주선 공배 편유 빠도메바 여바 마세안데 전주선 죽비 돈바 렌제 냠네 제반에 편유 빠도메바 여바 송요레스지 지송고로와.
In this sutra, the remarkable benefits of bodhicitta were mentioned so as to encourage the cultivation of bodhicitta, and thereafter, when uncontrived bodhicitta has been taken, to make the promises of a bodhisattva, and thereby, in ritual, receive the vows, and thereby one's bodhicitta will be that of engaging bodhicitta. So all these many benefits, these 230 in total benefits of bodhicitta, were mentioned in that the sutra requested by Subahu to make clear the immeasurable, inconceivable benefits of bodhicitta.
나는 가르치는 순발에 상지기 디네기 전주선비 윤대 편연디데 술로 가르치는 술로 순고래 가르치는 순고래 고바 가르치는 순고래 세디 순고래 매매 심진 된지 치르 대신 샤바 니지 순세데 심진 내가 소래 전주선바 멤버라 매바게 심진 대속이 치르도 안에 산된바 샤야 대신 샤바 상유 좀 내디 순발에 시고로 태만 말해 내 디테시젤이 다뭐 멤버 세대 멤버 내 태만아 말해 네 태만 지제고.
And so to whom for what reason so for what purpose did Buddha present all of these benefits to bodhicitta? Well, the purpose then is in the third line, for the sake of those inclined towards the Theravada, and then the Tibetan would then have, was stated by the Tathagata himself, was taught by the Tathagata himself.
전주선바 솔람바 충 안에 릭 망해봐 태바 침비 릭 망해봐 안에 전주선바 솔람 충어디기요 충어요레스 데서 매매라네 다 송사디 데솔 송고레스 데서 안에 전주선 냠는 야무디 줘야당 주보sem기 얘기 돈을 송고레 제래 건설에 송사디.
Buddha taught these 230 benefits of bodhicitta to new bodhisattvas, but these bodhisattvas were on the small part of the path of accumulation, so they were right at the beginning of the Mahayana paths, and they were not of definite Mahayana lineage, but rather of indefinite lineage. So being of indefinite lineage, it wasn't certain that they would develop their bodhicitta further. So here Buddha, to these new bodhisattvas, presented the remarkable benefits of bodhicitta so as to spur them on to take their bodhisattva vows with sincerity and having having generated engaging bodhicitta, to continue to develop their bodhicitta so as to gain stability in their bodhicitta.
지산다 릭 망에 베기 태바치메 릭 망에 베 전주 선바 솔람바레 충어디게라 가르 용고레세나 건조다 지 산지 요고보 토발라 까바 장메 숨노스베 초베 마세 개치마 싸고고 와다 데네게 싸고 통데 샘슈 샤고다 아 데네게 개치마 싸데 베깔레 하고레 사투사 말 투고 투사 말 에셈베 삼로 코리아다 데네 아치게 샘징의 된지도 갑래야 샘징의 된지도 샘징 빠도 매바 지 된치고 다 샘징 빠도 매바세 깔래 하고 샘징 니숨지의 된지야 변는 하나 주게 지금 마셔뇌제 대솔야 지 칼라 많이 봐죠 쥐바 로직 그 두자 제베네 샘주 차이리기 서러거든요 전선발에 전선배 현된지도 갑래야 야고 지 맞아도 고sem이죠 진짜 내내에서 안에 내내게 샘전 하다 샘전 탐지게 된세한테 제투사 말에 지산 샘전 탐지게 된지 깔래 하고 쉬우래샤 지 가시 담에 숨어서 초세 빼마세 깔래 하고 그래샤 지산 내내래 깔래 저다 내내 소소라랑 내갑다 녀모바 차서나 밥에 탈비 개와 탈바 톱나 디기도스 제가 탈바 톱는데 소수기 심지 탐지기 제목과 제 내가 부르는 야 탈바 톱네 탈바 톱 세외 제라 gel레gel레지네 아니 아직 자주심 곰 산주고 톱 죽으러 왔으면 되니게 삼로 코르지네 다 내가 되니게 깔래게 투서 말에 되니자 지도 매매시도 다 내마 안진년되다 란게람라 람게 탈바들 뭐봐서 대지다 산주고 톱고 섬비섬여와 제사다 되니게 강아두 섬비 섬다지 코로나도 아니 다 멤버 산주고 반들 멤버 미네 탈바쌈 디 토비기 멤버 끼고라서 매매 될야 듬바끼고 그러지 대 듬바끼에다 다 되니게 당에 되지 투삼 지금에서 섬 코로나도 전주심 동로 그래 되네 동안만 미니 아니 거 년되다 다 년되게 람다 되네를 주고 년되 봐 작용 그래야지 되네 차 용고를 해서 되네 전주심 봐 소름 중고 되네래
These new bodhisattvas, who are not or were not of definite Mahayana lineage, but rather of indefinite lineage, and they were at new bodhisattvas, recently having generated bodhicitta, and still on the small part of the path of accumulation, when they look at what needs to be achieved, they may look at this and think, enlightenment is a long way away. I have to accumulate so much merit to be able to help innumerable sentient beings. I don't know if I can do that. Sentient beings are uncountable in number. Can I really help each and every one of them and accumulate the vastness of merit that is required in order to become a Buddha? I don't know if I can do that. So here, for these new bodhisattvas of indefinite lineage at the start of the path of Mahayana path of accumulation, they may doubt whether they have the strength of mind required to strive with joy and perseverance for Buddhahood. They may doubt this. They may look at this task that lies before them and think, this is too much for me, this is beyond me. And then they think, perhaps the best route for me is to take that of individual liberation. Let me achieve that very quickly. That's good enough. I will achieve that. Thereafter, once I'm freed from suffering, once I experience no more pain, then I will develop bodhicitta, then I will be there for others. But perhaps right now I should strive for my own end. So such thinking is a grave danger for new bodhisattvas. Experienced bodhisattvas will not think like this, but new bodhisattvas, this is a real danger. Because even such a thought where they are drawn to the paths of the hero or solitary realizer could lead to the bodhicitta degenerating and even being lost. So therefore, new bodhisattvas, especially those of indefinite lineage, are in some danger.
내게 전주심바 다 태바침바 당보이네 링에 받을다 되는 용거 말 링망에 봐서 되는 거 봐. 제가단 당보 그거 전주심 기디 갑라 코심전 탐지게 된다라야 깔레되게 산주고바 토바 지긴심베 삼로 코스 개바로 와드면 개바르데 이나다 전주심 기에서는 무엇을 라란 따디 갑라 강아 태운 거로 와. 근데 강아 태도 마치 된 얘기 돼 빨리 거래. 제가 나가서 다가로 앞에 내가도지도 대표하고 그런 게 지긴선 직 고수산에 가서 깔아 어디에 좀사 말해가 용사 말했으니 마치 된 얘기 용거로 어디 나시 전주심 마기 공도 명언에 잠니제도 그 섬제 탐지기도 나 사주고 토바지 하바되는 인도 계시네 전주심 귤이 계사로 와다 계산다 무엇을 자와지 무엇을 내가 내지 곰들도 섬제 된체다 곰에다 전주심 계산은 직기도 가라 안 섬지게 된제도 바산에 판도 주요도 안지 가실이야 직 판도나 직 약분년로 맞지 안지 디 약분년 차려 직 몰로자 저벌로 용으로 된수도 어다 심지어 탐지기 깔래 하고 쉬우래샤 제투사말에서 샘주 되네 차이 마 샘주 차르고 그래 되네 차도 다네 소소라 내가 다 지게 탈바 토고 되네기 탈바 마토바 있네 되네 지게 신이 된 자와 계신 뭐지 마토 and then she drove in the Pando Gangana, Jokoala, Yadisha, Desada, Nerapana, Tabra, Tokudu, and Big, the nigger some not down to that, could change him the don't go regere, the nigger, Jinjisemba, the nigger, she mangae big, Jinjisemba Solom Chunwala, then it's Yungu or Rese, then it's Chasa, the Yungo Malakashi, the Yungo, Yungo Resungorwa.
Those new bodhisattvas who are of definite Mahayana lineage, they don't face such danger. Their lineage is definite. Even though they're new bodhisattvas, they will strive without such obstacle for enlightenment. But those of indefinite lineage, there is this danger that they need to be aware of, and their guides, their teachers, will take close care of them. Because when the lineage is not definite or is indefinite, then they can either develop the strength of mind required to progress or give up. So this can happen, as mentioned at the outset, when looking at the vastness of their task and the length of the path before them that they need to cultivate within them, or another time that new bodhisattvas of indefinite lineage can face a severe obstacle is when engaging in virtuous activities to benefit others. Because, as we know from our own experience, when engaging with others, we do encounter some problems. And this, for new bodhisattvas of indefinite lineage, can present them with some hardship. So if we think of our own experience, where you embark on something, perhaps it's a new job or a new activity, a new interest that you're enjoying and you're taking such pleasure, and you think, this is fantastic, I could do this all day. But then after a while, one encounters some problems, some difficulties, and then doubts start to arise. And especially if those difficulties continue for a while, you may think, oh, I've bitten off more than I can chew. This isn't what I expected. Maybe this is not for me. So for bodhisattvas, they certainly encounter adverse circumstances, and depending on their strength of mind, either those adverse circumstances adds to their determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others, or can cause them to waver when they're on the small part of the path of accumulation and are of indefinite lineage. We can imagine a new bodhisattva of indefinite lineage trying to help others, but they're recognizing some people are just never satisfied. I can't do enough for them. They're always complaining. They're always disgruntled. They just seem to take. This is really not for me. This is a bit much. Because especially when I think of what may follow my death, I have just attained the path of accumulation. It's not even certain I won't fall into the lower realms in my next life. I need to get that security first, and I need to strive for my own individual liberation. I do not want to risk falling into the lower realms because I'm trying to help beings who, quite frankly, don't seem to want to be helped by me. So in such a situation, new bodhisattvas of indefinite lineage do need to be taken care of, and they need to take care of their bodhicitta too.
Denige samlo khoyegi nyanga yoba yinza dene samlo dene makho nyele ne denige andeso denige jiga ri mangi be chenju semba solom chungwa digilya an sanyegi chenju sembi phayen digi pa she ko phayen digi dene yorse dene ya ko nyingto phaya da nyingto gya jina phayen she dene phayen she ne ko den jube dombale dusin dile phayen che yores dusin jizan sungwe de sungwa de sanjigi de sulye sungwa re she jizan konzo denigi membigi membala meba maje 된다 denigi me member tarbi ko fa toyegi dumba maje 된다 ba dusin ba janshi 마도야 된다라 아니 kon janshi phayen de sungwa de jizan konjugi 된다라 sungwa re she 지네 디르와다 지네 디레 지네 매 자시심이 판에 진시 손반의 제 판에 되는 이제 될이야 아니 매바께 이제 dum바 숙처 줘야다 안지게 묘도 안에 야 공부도 또 보지 야 털어야기 된다 중거와 지산디 대신 시아바 니기 송세데 대안은 지자디 요새디 대인셰베 니기 송세 대인셰베 산제 랑기 송아 레다스 워다 진짜 돈한테 송 요리마도 지지와라시 침비 네다다가스 지게 전세 파연되는 요라세 네 조다지 희고마다 데 산제 랑기 돈한 바도 송셔 요레세 송 대인셰베 니기 송세
The sutra requested by Subahu, in that sutra, Buddha taught these 230 benefits of bodhicitta explicitly for new bodhisattvas of indefinite lineage, so as to guide them away from any potential attraction to striving for their own individual liberation. And secondly, he taught this for those bodhisattvas and all other bodhisattvas who generate their aspiration to strengthen their bodhicitta, to develop their bodhicitta ever further, making it stable, making it grow ever more. So for those two reasons, the Buddha taught all these benefits of bodhicitta. And Shantideva goes on to say that this was stated by the Tathagata himself. So you can be confident that this is not just something that I, Shantideva, have made up, but this came from the Tathagata himself.
파말리아 부기베네 파미기 부충충 달레베 다고슈 야고시 다고슈 섭섭지게 그러다 다고슈지게 다 부디야 체세도 로고 오스라진 벤다고 구주주 지데니아 체세도 nem 디제라 바 지미 파미기 제와다 따도 지고데 이나 디제기라 충충나신 따도 지금 말아 충충데 갑자베 지 파섭섭슈 진다도 지고로 그래서네 디고 충충들이야 내기 보나 남상고 지게 강아 숙체제 희쇼쇼다 년섭체로와 대산 따도 삽삽시우시 지거로와 또 로자 체스 차선도 곧 강아 체나 그 되니게 속경 영향이야 또 제가 강아 중국으로 뒤에서 곧 따도 됐어 바 충충 나신 따도 난 지거 말봐 맞아 지된 바 있네 어디 나시 다 상业점는 되게 장슈쌤 곰제 장슈쌤 당보 기용들이야 믹스게 산지 수도시기래 저래 배 산지 배직다 주비 당간이 토베네 믹스게 수도시기래서 지난 전주 셈바 지난 산지기 예링 셈제 사실은 예링 요 말에 찍부지게 지고래 다 전주 셈비게 솔럼 진다 첨보다 되네게 야 파베고 뭐 토도래 콘줄이야 양세를 무슨 갈라간서에서 되네게 권냐미야다 되네게 하야마 매반자 근데 제주스마 대시 솔럼 충와 디솔야 배 냥한 냠야기 냥아 첨부 기 멍부 용거 냥아 첨부에서 디 마냠냐의 공부도 줘야도 사지 미스기스도 난 그래 해지래.
Parents know that when they have a newborn, that newborn has to be cared for, held close all the time, because they really are completely helpless, totally vulnerable. When they get a little older, slowly the parents can let them crawl around on their own, later even run around on their own. And parents will still watch, always hold them close in their heart, but will not have to keep them right up close with them. Because now as they're a bit older, they can handle themselves a little bit. But when they're newborn, they've newly entered into this world, completely vulnerable. Similarly, the Buddhas take close care of new bodhisattvas. They hold new bodhisattvas very, very close. Not because the Buddhas don't have equanimity or they care for some more than others. It's not any about closeness and distance. But because they know what the bodhisattva has achieved is so precious. So precious because of the benefit that will follow from this mind that has newly arisen within them. And therefore, like a parent caring for their newborn infant, the Buddhas will hold the bodhisattva very close until the bodhicitta is stable within them.
지난다 장슈쌤 세대원에 산교 고방 토에게 산교 고방 다등한 주 톱저 탈둑대 산교 고방에 지산 쌤전 담지 산교 고방 토에게다 쌤디 배자 치쇼디 다 장슈쌤 세대 매체도 자와 쌤전 담지게 dunda samdaya. Then Simjan Tamji Dungasia say samdaya. De, and the young Simjan Tamji Dungasia ya Shiji Yundan Tardu Sanya Salokoegi. Di Dundalia and Simjan Sanyukoma Toba Show Simbigida, Janju Simni Kevanza, the Nigi Janju Sim the Bembas Sachimboda, Chik Kalek, Dinigi Kielia, Kalek Habu, the Nigi Kia Tawaina, and the Chik Bembasibigida. Zachimbo, Nubachimbo, the Imbu Gimjas, the Jevo Sanjoko want to be Gu, the Gen in the Dang to Kawa Karasavin, Sanjoko want to be Gurtu Vaza, Janju send the Bay, Massive Zachimbo, and Nubachimbo. The name is other Janju Simba Dangbo, that the Nigget Dangbo Yagan Midilia, and the Nigget Zachimbo, the Leo, Bears, Absorption Yawatap Majavana, Kuma Yaji Simshu Jashin, Gurs Majigim, the member Ma Joshavan. Then I the Kalakawa Chargo, called Tarbaton, the Tarbit Govan Thompson, then a Koron Shidi Thompson, then a Koron Yam Chasino, Lo Mambush with Dinigi, Luchinada, Sanjo Janjusim Gialia, Gunju Wushu, Gugu or Regere. Tis a Gunju Goyo, then a Sanjo Govan Toyalia, Dinigi Jachumba Top Sarge, and then Janjusim Ya Gulikiava in there, Gabrielia, Janjusim Chas Hawaii, Gabrielia, Chikorongi. Nyamagi, the Kui Nyomaba, Sabana Jeba, Bangbi, Bangba, Shidelipa, Jitini Bangba, the Nyambashan, Gunu Nyamagi, Gunu Nyamba Shavas, the Gombe Wangi, the Nea Gunu Gom Nyamsha Shugures. Says that the name Gunu Nyamja Shudu, that she had young also, that Chike, Chidu, and Garsore, and Sanjoko Tobala, Nyamsha, the Dang, and Sonam Sony. Chibajin San Rover, Gabriel Nyambasha, Gabriel Sonam Sokot, Chibajin Rover Mother, Nyamja, Janya, Jedin, Sonam, saw Sama to do, Dobocon to draw to go. Then as a many member Marchi, then many judging Bejibo Topsa, Yanja Tapachimbe Lamlo, Tapachimbe, Jajisimba Chabena, then the Solambar Child, the Negi, Nimi Gombe, on get Gomjet, Damebalo Gompeshu, Uniushu, Sonam, saw side, go up the Tibetan Maradu, then Sanjoko Watawala Tarin Chawala. Just not Deniza and Denigi, just not Deniza, that's Ma Janjusim Guliki, Herne, Tisuma, Malonyagi, Ma Manyamba General, Sanji Mixi Tato Chawade, Gobo Jumsen Denisi Sungoro.
Bodhicitta is an incomparably precious mind. So there's a vast array of virtuous minds to accomplish in the Buddha-dharma, but none can be compared to bodhicitta. The benefits that come from bodhicitta are inconceivable and incomparable because, look at it from 4 points. Firstly, the number of beings who are the object of care of a bodhisattva is inconceivable, uncountable. Each and every kind mother sentient being across the realms of space is the object of care of a bodhisattva. So this vastness and inconceivable number of beings is the first reason that bodhicitta is an incomparable mind, and therefore the merit that it accumulates is incomparable. The second is that through the guidance and care of the bodhisattva, the benefits that the sentient beings will accrue is that they will eventually, slowly, reduce and eliminate suffering. So there's the inconceivable number of sufferings that each being experiences, that under the care and guidance of bodhisattvas, they will gain freedom from that. So because of the immensity of the sufferings that sentient beings will be able to dispel under the care of the bodhisattva, this is the second reason that bodhicitta is incomparable in the virtue that it accumulates. And the third is that the bodhisattva's goal is Buddhahood for each and every being. This is what they are striving for, so that they can be of ever more help to others, and it is the state that they are helping others progress towards attaining. And the state of Buddhahood has inconceivable good qualities. So in the second point was about the elimination of the immensity of suffering experiences. The third is about the attainment of the qualities of Buddhahood, which too are innumerable. So that's the third reason. Then the fourth is the span of time that this will take, and that the Bodhisattva will engage in beneficial activities, guiding and caring for beings wherever they can encounter them. So that's the fourth reason, the duration of time. So for these four reasons, which are all associated with the mind of bodhicitta, bodhicitta is incomparable to any other mind, and the virtue that this mind leads to is beyond compare with any other virtuous mind. So recognizing just how precious bodhicitta is, the Buddhas who have perfected bodhicitta will hold new bodhisattvas close, ensuring that their bodhicitta does not degenerate, handling them with care, guiding them closely so that their bodhicitta is developed sufficiently so that it becomes stable, and the Buddhas will do all they can to prevent the bodhisattva from being swayed by self-interest and turning towards individual liberation. Because the great fault that follows from a practitioner stepping back from the Mahayana paths and striving for individual liberation, the great loss is the benefits that bodhisattva could have brought over this inconceivable period of time that there now will not be a bodhisattva. Because when the practitioner strives for individual liberation, for sure there will benefit beings, but not nearly as much as a bodhisattva would at that time. And moreover, when they attain their goal of arhatship, or a foe destroyer, they will abide in the peace of individual liberation for eons, benefiting no one. So if the bodhisattva, the new bodhisattva, falls to the paths of individual liberation, the loss will be borne by other sentient beings whose own spiritual development will be delayed. So therefore, the Buddhas take close care, guiding them. And also with this understanding, when bodhisattvas have developed the bodhicitta so that it's stable, they have to spiritually develop. They need to engage in meditative equipoise so as to develop the accumulations of merit and wisdom. But they will not only engage in meditative equipoise, they will alternate between directly helping others, putting their qualities, their inner qualities into action, so to speak, because they recognize the need is there. And where they can interact with others and be of benefit, they will be there. And this way they'll alternate the two of engaging in meditative equipoise and directly helping sentient beings.
Andine jisan gyumjen dire ma de anji sanji gi jinji semba le dangbo de la shu sikto pe chik dato che da jinji semba des ya toba twa de ge chigi mare sun de ane chige sanje le nyering ji yosa de samsa de den siguro ram sang anzu chige nyering yosa samsa de karsan de le ya chi de ya chige jinji semba le dangbo de la mangai dato ya chi de go ya chi jinji semba de so ya chig shara mana de chige de nyering sa de some course barwa je da nga nyering sa de marwa nyering sa de ma ju kunwo cha dang ge wong ge ro so su ge cha yu de nyomo wong ge de la ya cha da so so ya ji ge del ma ga sa de le duwa che de nyering di yung gur ma do ko ye ji le ya ji ya ko so ma da do che ji le de nyung da do che de nyering ga cha ya marwa be ne nga ju bu che ne 마싱에 다 벨레 당보들 망알라고 거와 니고 신경디기레 뉴아마들라고 말고 니르스케 말고 고고 김센다 내상이 원기디 제화 차고로 마다 지사다가 섬나 지기 가브냐 지 람사 오다 니링지 요살다 선비 도고 용시바 차고로 와
What I want to make sure is very clear, that everyone understands that the reason the Buddhas care, especially take exceptional care of new bodhisattvas, is not because of some kind of partiality that the Buddhas have. That the Buddhas look at new bodhisattvas and say, oh, you're going to become like me. You're part of my group. my tribe, and therefore I will care for you more. This is not the case. Buddhas don't have partiality like that. They don't have a closeness to some and a distance from others. This we have. This comes from attachment, that we are closer to those that we like, those who treat us in a certain way, do things for us, rub our ego in a certain way. We are close to those and distant from others who don't do that. A Buddha has completely, long since, abandoned any such partiality. The reason they take such tender care of new bodhisattvas is because of the incredible value of what they've achieved and the tremendous benefits that will come as their bodhicitta develops and flourishes. In fact, the Buddhists take an approach not dissimilar from a skilled teacher. A teacher will tailor their presentation to a new student, teaching more slowly and in greater detail with more illustrations, watching carefully that the student has understood well. With other students who have more knowledge and experience, the teacher can move through the topic much more quickly. So too with how the bodhisattvas, the new bodhisattvas, will be cared for by Buddhas.
제양아저기 패연들이야 전신 패연된데 시월에서 대리 양아저 눈바데 몇번이야 근데 내게 돈에 아저네 한지게 곰투나 곰야다 그지간저 곰야 배워나데 네 곰투버 지기야서 비게 눈바게 돼 아저게 도시나 삼다야데 예치 모르셔야다 미 내게 다 전신 배냠는 지겐들이 배 야고래서 비게 지수 일하셔야 돼 도시에도 배는 아저래 개와사야고 눈바 중앙 차고래 내가 뜻이 때 개와다 디바세야다 룸마테세야다 예와를 되는지 세비 제가 당한 저기 냐와께게 셈제 소주지지제 냐와께게 레사기리에서도 냐와께게 레사와라 셈제 소제바 잠기 냐와사베 레사고 말에 제가 냐와께와라 셈제 소주비게 군롱 되네 군롱외 군롱체 되네 조와서 그러데 군롱 되네 조 판이 쇠게 조알야가제야 제 쇠 사능이 쇠비게 직선 선비게다 데니게 삼로 탈두기야 운두시네 조와당 조와당 왜 죽숨과 차베나 데는 냐와게를 사고르마도 디나데 두군노르 베베네 조와당 탈두게베네 냐와 디버사고르 디네 냐와게를 사고마레 지나다 야지 군노다 조와체네 다바 직수 사선 쇠용도 시용도 단 배사선서 비교와게선에 탈두 마주바인자 아니 거 가서 냐와게를 사고마레래 지사 냐와게를 사바 심저 속주체네 레사바들라 제바이나 조와도 뭐주 숨과 상고고래 해서지 언데네게 먼저 제 삼다들 와대시 된시에다 나들이 대샤션.
Tonight then, in the 20th verse, we've looked at how the benefits of bodhicitta were, the feasibility of those benefits that have been presented is asserted through the reference to the sutra requested by Subahu. So we looked at this tonight, and the reason, again, why we're looking at in this entire section at the benefits of bodhicitta is so that for all of us, we can come to hear them, to reflect on them, and generate an aspiration. May I also have a mind such as that. May I also be counted amongst the bodhisattvas. May I also be counted amongst the children of the Buddha. I can do this. This isn't beyond my capacity. As we saw in an earlier verse, we have all achieved this remarkable human rebirth. We all have the capacity to do this in this life. Here generates the intention that I can do this. And if I don't do it in this life, when I have all these remarkable conditions, when will I ever? So here we reflect on the benefits of bodhicitta to develop a sincere aspiration to become a bodhisattva. And as part of that, we've heard about the remarkable teachers in the lineage who have generated bodhicitta. Rejoice in their qualities and set out to emulate our role models. So then, moreover, in addition, we spoke earlier about that one may have accumulated non-virtue, one will have accumulated non-virtue, but whether that non-virtuous karma can lead to rebirth in hell, depends on a number of factors, amongst of which whether the action was a complete, or the karmic accumulation was complete or not, whether it had the aspects of the motivation, the intention, the action or the performance, and then the completion of it, which, depending on the deed, could be the recognition that one has done so. If all of that is done, it's a complete action. But if anything is missing, it will be an incomplete action, and an incomplete action cannot lead to rebirth in the lower realms. But if the negativity is complete, and therefore it has the potential to lead to rebirth in the hells or another lower realm, the situation is not hopeless. It is actually, we have some control. We can have impact through generating regret. Generating regret and cultivating opposing virtuous minds. So in this way, through cultivating the four opponent powers, one can weaken previously accumulated non-virtue and thereby ensure that one's rebirths are going to go well. So thank you. Then we'll complete there for tonight. Thank you very much.